If you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Ooh, PlastChicks.
PlastChicks is an SPE sponsored podcast.
Hey.
Good evening.
How's it going?
Oh, it is just wonderful here. I think it's like 70. So basically beach weather.
Oh my gosh, but like night beach weather.
Well, a good night swim never hurt no one.
This might be the latest that we've ever recorded.
I know, we're way past my bedtime. At 8 p.m. Listen, I need my pudding cup and I need to go to bed. And I am not joking. Both of those things are very real.
Well, I am Mercedes Landazuri.
And I'm Lindsay Nebel.
And with our powers combined, we are PlastChicks. The voices of resin.
Never get that on time.
So I am, what is my title now? Color Lab Technology Director for Peacock Colors, and we're on a few boards for SPE.
I don't know what your title is because I can barely send you the correct email address. I am a project engineer for Tech Tank in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm the vice president of membership engagement for SPE.
And for those of you who don't know, SPE is the Society of Plastics Engineers, or Inspiring Plastics Professionals.
Super plasticky.
So on this podcast, we talk about all things plastics. We talk to people who work for companies that use plastic. We talk about alternatives to plastic, all things plastic.
Anything. A to Z plastics.
Yeah. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all the podcast places.
Feel free to leave reviews. Don't make them too mean. I will.
She'll take it personally.
I'll take it very personally.
She'll spiral. She will spiral.
I spiral all the time.
We're all very fragile right now. We're all very fragile.
Yeah, make them uplifting at the very least.
So you can we SPE sponsors this podcast, and they release it the first Friday of every month. You can also find us on social media, PlastChicks, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and there is no I between the plast and chicks.
But we don't mind if you call us PlastChicks. That's fine.
We're okay with it.
But the title is PlastChicks.
So if you want to find us, you can drop the I.
All right. And we do have a special guest with us today. We're not ignoring him.
Nope. We know he's here. So tonight, I guess, we actually have Adam Baker, who is the founder and CEO of SodaPup, which I am very familiar with in my own line of work. And I'm just gonna keep it short because I don't want to spoil all the fun about SodaPup. So welcome.
Welcome, Adam. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here. What fun.
And where are you today?
I am in Boulder, Colorado, which is where we are headquartered.
Mountain time.
Which is where we should have been for Antec.
Our annual technical conference.
Not Boulder, but Colorado. I'm counting the state.
So tell us about SodaPup.
Well, SodaPup started out as a hobby business after I left corporate life, and I thought there was opportunity in the pet space, and had just spent several years making lots of plastic shoes at Crocs. And so I started this brand called SodaPup, and in the beginning we were very focused on durable, natural rubber dog toys. And, we focus in the power chewer market. So there are only a certain number of shapes you can get away with in rubber before a dog will destroy it. So I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I should make nylon toys because there's all these shapes that I want to do that I wouldn't dream of doing in rubber because it wouldn't be durable enough. And then lo and behold, one day out of the blue, I got a cold call from Tech Tank in Erie, PA, Nick Peterson. And it's just funny how it happened because, I had all these concepts already developed, but really no sourcing plan, or I didn't know the first thing about plastics. So it was just funny that he called. And I think even Nick was a little bit taken aback because in the 2 years since we've worked together, I think I've done 40 new products with them. So it's been almost 2 a month for 2 years. It's been crazy.
Wow.
And super fun because I get to do all kinds of things that I couldn't do with rubber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, on the other end of it, it's really fun to see the shapes and the colors, and you know, that's not something most manufacturers, I feel like, well, I mean, Mercedes, you're literally in color, but like, as you know, coming from other types of custom injection molding, you know, we would run shades of white, and it would be like, is it this white or this white? Oh, well, it's this white. That's not exciting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So how, tell us a little bit about your background. Well, maybe I'll get into the other question first, because you did mention the C word, Crocs. So you have an interesting background. When, you know, looking at your CV, you worked for what is highly regarded as one of the coolest footwear companies of all time, Nike, right? And then you've also worked for Crocs. How does that come about?
Well, you know, it's a long and winding road. So, I mean,
I
I've
do
got
want to interject and say that right now, me and my mom gang out here in Erie, we're all rocking the Crocs sandals. So
nice.
I would say they are the coolest footwear. I don't know what you're trying to insinuate, Mercedes, but the mom gang is rocking them.
Okay, well, I am a mom and my children have never seen me in Crocs, but I do support, I mean, there's a place and a time for everything.
Listen, if they're cool enough for Drew Barrymore and Post Malone, they're cool enough for you.
Right?
That's true. I guess that's true. Maybe you know what? Now you're talking me into it. I need to find some like
I'll
fly
send you
Crocs.
the link. I'll send you the link. In front of our gang.
So Nike was pretty early on in your career, yeah?
Yeah. So as I was saying, it's kind of a long and winding road. I mean, my undergraduate degree is in geology, and then I went and I was an officer in the Coast Guard for 5 years. Then I left the service, got an MBA, and then went to work for Nike after my MBA. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just me. Sorry about that.
Okay.
No worries.
So we've just moved into a new warehouse, and that was the landlord coming by to say hi.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, 3 times bigger, and it's already filling up. So
Nice.
So I went to work for Nike, and I actually worked on the apparel side. And it was an amazing 10 years. I mean, it's like, if you're going to go work for a consumer products company, it's like, you know, a Harvard MBA in consumer products. And then I left Nike and went to the dark side. I went to work for Under Armour, and where I was the vice president of apparel. And that was an amazing experience because they were still quite young. They were actually private when I joined the company.
Oh, wow.
We IPO'd when I was there, which was, you know, once in a lifetime kind of experience. And so just to be a part of that and to really learn firsthand about entrepreneurship and, you know, what Kevin Plank did to create this little company and become a major force in the sporting goods industry. So that was, you know, if Nike was a Harvard MBA of consumer products brands, then, you know, Under Armour was an amazing startup experience for me.
Wow.
Kind of crazy to call it, you know, at the time they're $200 million. It's not exactly a startup, but
yeah, that's what I was like, wow. Yeah. But that's so cool to see a company go from, you know, from startup feel to IPO to, gosh, even like following where it is now. There's really amazing stuff that they're doing there.
I mean, I was there, we went from about 200 million to the first billion, and then I left. And I loved it there, but you know, I wanted to raise my family digging in the dirt and playing in the mountains. So we moved to Colorado, and Crocs was the opportunity. So I got headhunted for that position. I ran product management for Crocs. So they were really struggling in 2008. The auditing firm had issued a going concern against them. basically suggesting that they didn't think they were a viable company. So it was very much tooth and nail for a while as we right-sized through the recession and retooled the product strategy and recovered. And it was an amazing 4 years. It was a difficult situation because, you know, it was a shrinking business when I arrived. And so to define a new direction and understand where that brand could go, you know, where the consumer would allow it to go, it was a really fun challenge, very different from anything I'd done in the past. And it was my first footwear experience. Of course, it's not traditional footwear. It's a little bit, it's easier than traditional footwear because of sizing and fit and so on. But it was great because I got to see a lot of really cool manufacturing of EVA materials and super fun experience.
Very
And
cool.
then, you know, I did 4 years there, and honestly, I was kind of burned out on corporate life after that. And I'd been watching the pet industry in 2008 during the deepest part of the recession. So I was at Crocs from 2008 to 2012. And the pet industry grew by 4% in 2008. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. This is a recession-proof business. And I love dogs. We have 3 dogs. And I thought, well, you know, I should take a look at that industry. Maybe, you know, I'd always wondered whether I could be successful as an entrepreneur and create something from nothing. So that's what I did. I jumped ship and started my first iteration of this business, which was not actually molded product. It was, I originally started with, I did a licensing deal with Cloudstar Corporation. They had a trademark called Wagmore Bark Less. And I was building a lifestyle brand for dog lovers, a little bit like Life is Good, except specific to dog lovers. And anyway, through a series of events, and, you know, I won't get into all of that, but they sold their business and the new owners didn't want to continue with the license. So I had to do a quick pivot. And the thing that we heard over and over again, of all the products that we entered under Wagmore Bark Less, under that brand, people loved the dog toys. So I was like, okay. And we were making those in China. So what people were saying is, we love your dog toys, we need more options, but we really wish they were made in the US. So as luck would have it, I had a friend who knew a rubber manufacturer here just outside of Boulder. And I went up and met with him. It turns out he produced Kong rubber toys for about 15 years and was a real expert in rubber toy manufacturing. So I pivoted and we started making exclusively dog toys, and we rebranded as SodaPup.
Very cool. And manufacturing too in the US, I mean, unless you're manufacturing in China and going over there all the time, you can't go through as many iterations, right? With the different products and colors and things like that.
The bigger challenge, honestly, is the biggest challenge is mold cost. You know, with rubber, the cure times are quite long. So you're only going to get 4 cycles an hour when you're producing rubber products. So you need very high capacity molds. So most of our molds on the rubber side are 16 to 24 cavities. They're very expensive. But once you've got the mold, then you can be competitive with China from a cost perspective. So, you know, without getting into all the details about how we did that, we came up with a formula that allowed us to produce new toys very frequently, like every month, with no debt. We just found big customers that needed new toys, and my deal with them is I own the molds and the designs we're going to produce for you for the first month, and after that, you know, we'll make money on subsequent customers. I just needed to cover the cost of the mold. So that's what we did. And so we made more and more rubber toys. And, you know, I really was itching to diversify and offer different product types and do different shapes. And then Nick called from Tech Tank, and I had all these nylon toy ideas. And, you know, our philosophy is different from most brands. Because I come from a consumer products background, when I came into this space, I didn't really understand what other brands were doing. It didn't make a lot of sense to me.
How do you mean?
Well, it wasn't very imaginative, first of all. So specifically in the nylon space, everybody's doing dog bones.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw, some of your CAD files, and I was like, these are
This is a dog toy?
this is for dogs. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, if I had a dog, I would totally pick this over like a bone. I'm more excited.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that dogs don't care.
Right.
So to only do dog bones is highly unimaginative. And I get it. There's certainly a place for that. But I have, studiously avoided doing bone shapes up until just very recently, because I didn't think the market needed more of that. I think that it needed novelty. And so, the way we think about dog toys is that we build dog toys for people. And we know that they work for dogs. So, some fun facts about the pet industry: 53% of American households have a dog. 53%. I mean, it's an
Wow.
astounding amount. So something like 61 million households have dogs. And then if you look at all those people, it's fair to assume that they're very diverse. Those 61 million households, not everybody is alike, right? So if you're a fashionista who lives on the Upper East Side of New York and you carry a Birkin bag and you got a 4-pound dog that you carry in your purse, you're a very different type of dog owner than a duck hunter with a pickup truck and
Right.
who likes to hunt on the weekend.
My family
has a lab in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and SodaPup markets to both.
Correct. Yes? So what we did is we created collections or sub brands, whatever you want to call them, targeting each of these different types of customers. So the kind of the flagship brand, SodaPup, it's inspired by junk food. So we have soda cans and coffee cups and popcorn and lifesavers and things like that. And then, we've got another brand called USA Canine, and that's inspired by military objects. The number one SKU of everything we make, the number one SKU is a grenade. And the reason
I've seen that. I saw that, and I was
so well.
When I visited Tech Tank, this would have been a while back, but
yeah.
But I was, I was like, I think that maybe this was the customer that, that Lindsay was talking about. I was like,
so we do a nylon grenade, and we also do a rubber grenade in 3 sizes and multiple different compounds. But that's our number one SKU, and the reason is because we don't have any competition there, because other brands aren't willing to do a risky design.
Yeah,
I can see why grenades would be offensive to some people, but the reality is it resonates with a lot of consumers. We've attracted a ton of veterans and military folks and law enforcement and so on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny to see, whenever there's a new tool of yours on the floor, and some people be like, why are we making this? What is this? And like totally don't get it. But those are the same people that like the next part we run, they're like, I love this. This is so great. It's just, there's always just like this split of people, getting it or not getting it.
Yeah, the drawback as a brand is getting people to understand that it's actually a dog toy.
Right.
So I think it works fine in pet distribution, but if you're selling in a grocery store, it might be more difficult to understand. So there are pros and cons to the strategy, but we're getting tremendous pickup right now. I mean, all of a sudden, as they say in business parlance, the flywheel is starting to spin. So after all the hard work getting it to move, all of a sudden we've got orders coming in from France and Belgium and Germany and Taiwan, and it's crazy.
That's amazing.
So it's been fun.
Oh, Adam, I want to go back to one thing that you said, that when you moved to Boulder, you said you wanted your family to be digging in the dirt and playing in the mountains. Then that was like, okay, well, geology, right? Going back to what you studied at Middlebury. What, how are you from Vermont originally, or?
No, I grew up in Massachusetts, but
okay.
you know,
How did you end up at
That's
Middlebury?
insane.
It's fascinating to me because you don't see a lot of people in the manufacturing space who have a liberal arts background. I actually did a Middlebury's program. I was technically a Middlebury student for a year in Russia.
oh,
I
really?
did
In the
one of their
language
programs there.
program. Yeah, of course, they're famous for
For
their
sure.
language programs. Well, I'm a legacy. Both my parents went to Middlebury, and frankly, I'm just a nature guy. I like being outdoors. I mean, that's my bliss. You know, put me on a bike or a motorcycle or a pair of skis or a snowboard or whatever it is. If I'm outside, I'm happy. Talk about swimming in the dark, which you mentioned earlier, Lindsay.
See?
We live on a lake, and my family did an every damn day swim challenge last summer. We had to swim in the lake every day from Memorial Day to Labor Day, no matter what.
That
And
is some
so
commitment.
for me, getting home late from work, there were some late night swims.
Was there a time or distance that you had to commit to, or could
Just
you
had to
just
get
hop in and
fully
get
submerged, fully submerged. I will tell you that a lake on Memorial Day in Colorado is very uncomfortable. So, but my older son, he won the challenge because he swam the day after Labor Day. And so he went one day extra, but what made it exceptional was that we had a freak snowstorm and he swam in the snowstorm just to beat his parents. So
Wow.
made it all worthwhile.
No, I would have
So
noped right out of
anyway,
that.
Anyway, so Middlebury was, partly I have a lot of family history there. Actually, both of my younger sisters ended up going there as well. And I just wanted to be in a more rural environment. So that's how I wound up there. And yeah, I mean, I'm very atypical. The fact that I've got, I'm in this world now, and that I, went into a quasi-military organization. All those things are quite unusual for a liberal arts grad from Middlebury.
Mm-hmm. But there's certainly a lot of talk about diversity now, but diversity of thought and how dynamic that can make an organization, right? When you get people who have lived through different experiences and come from different backgrounds, and it can really enrich the organization. I mean, just like you said, coming from consumer driven companies, you looked at this pet toy space in a very different way, even that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that I'm not a pet industry insider works to my advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's the fun of it. Like, if you look at my career, particularly once I hit the sporting goods industry and moved through my career there, the common thread is I like to make stuff. Whether it's apparel or footwear or dog toys, I just love the creation process. And what I've really enjoyed about working with Tech Tank and just being in a new space is learning new materials. Like, I didn't know anything about natural rubber, and I had to educate myself on that. And then, to come in and work with Brock and Nick and Lindsay and that crew, learning about plastics, and, the molds are different. The kinds of designs that you do with rubber are different than what you can do in plastics, because the material properties are so different. One of the things that we will be doing in the future is continue to push the envelope on materials and how we can continue to bring more novelty into the pet world through, whether it's recycled plastic bottle material. So we've got a green story, and I know that, there's some folks out there already doing that. I would like to get back to that. Or just other types of finishes. And, most recently we just entered the lick mat category, which is booming.
I'm sorry, the what?
The lick mat category.
Oh, it's very real.
Oh, a lick mat is, Tech Tank knows all about lick mats, but
It sounds like a cat toy, but it's a dog toy?
well, cats use them as well. It's not so much a toy as a feeding system. So it's not a dog bowl. It is a mat, and it has a texture on it. And then you smear soft food like yogurt and fruit or peanut butter, cottage cheese, whatever. You smear it down into the texture, and then dogs or cats have to lick it out. And so, dogs have natural foraging instincts. In fact, if you give a toy with a treat in it versus a bowl of food, more often than not, the dog will go for the toy, even though it's easier to eat out of the bowl. And that's partly just their instinct. And so
And I'm the opposite. I'll go for the easy food every time.
She does.
Sure.
I've seen her.
Bowl of chips.
Oh, that's funny. I mean,
Well-
when I was thinking of it like, like a lick mat sounds like a deconstructed Kong almost.
Well, it's an enrichment toy, like a Kong, like many of my toys. An enrichment toy like a Kong Classic or a SodaPup can toy it's a hollow rubber treat dispenser that you can put things inside, and then the dog has to figure out how to get the stuff out. So that is encouraging their foraging instincts. It engages their brains, keeps them occupied, and keeps them out of trouble. It helps with separation anxiety. It helps with crate training. These are great products, and that's kind of where we focus.
It's like intellectual engagement for pets.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And
It's a
we'll
great
come back to that
conversation.
on nylon in a
Perfect.
second, but just to finish the enrichment mat conversation, the lick mat, we call ours E-mats. That's our trade name, and it's for enrichment mat because that's really what it is. It's an enrichment activity for your dogs. And, it helps them produce saliva, which is good for their digestion. It helps them stay calm and soothes them. The act of licking is soothing for them. So, but most of the products out there are very mundane. Like I just look at the designs, I'm like, this is just not very interesting. So we have been focused on novelty design. So our first design is a jigsaw puzzle. So it is a cutout, or it's like an outline of a jigsaw puzzle, and that texture, it's deeper. I mean, our products are much nicer than what's out there. They're about 50% heavier, they're more durable, they're way more interesting. It's a beautiful product. And, in the beginning, I was like, holy cow, are people going to pay $12.99 for this when everyone else in the market's at $7.99? And sure enough, people love them. So we do a jigsaw. We do have a bone pattern, which is, I did do bones. It's an asymmetrical.
Caved to peer pressure.
But it's an asymmetrical print, so I get a hall pass on that one.
Cool.
We did honeycomb, and we got flower power coming, and there's all kinds of things we want.
The honeycomb is my favorite. It's got a little bee.
And I'm regretting that we did that as a small. I might have to do that in a large as well, because everyone who sees that loves it.
It's a really good one.
Anyway, so real quickly, back to nylon. One of the interesting things about a nylon bone is that dogs typically just chew the knuckles. They chew one end and then they chew the other end, and when they're done with that, you throw the toy away. So you're throwing away about 80% of the toy. And so we've been working on a number of designs. Because nylon is such a strong material, we thought, well, what if we just minimize the shaft? Like, what if we did a different structure so we could take all the weight out of the shaft, or most of the weight, and put all that material in the knuckles where the dog is going to use it. So we did a product called the Honey Bone, which used that thinking, and recently got picked up by Walmart as part of a private label program. So we're pretty excited about that. And then the second thing we did was we did kind of a modern bone shape where we took the shaft and then we put what we call treat pockets. So we put holes on the shaft that you can fill with food, so that shaft has functionality that it didn't have before. So, innovation is so incremental, but these are the kinds of incremental things that we're doing to say, well, how do we take an existing product and just make it a little bit better, make it a little bit more interesting?
And I think along that line, we've covered the fact that you're not from a plastics background.
Right.
So what do you rely on in a manufacturer when you are, trying to, approach a new space like that, approach new product, basically walking in and saying, I know what I want, but do you know how to get me what I want? What do you look for?
Yeah, what I look for is someone who is a really good communicator and is willing to, fill me in. I ask a lot of questions. I'm, reasonably intelligent, and I've been around molding for a while. So, for sure there was a learning curve for me. Oh, I can't do a design that way. I would send a CAD over to Brock and he'd say, well, we have to change this, that, and the other. And I'd be like, okay, why do we need to change that? And then he would explain it. And once he explained it once, it's like, okay, I know what to look out for in the future. So that was a learning curve. The other learning curve is around properties of the materials. So we've tried to do treat dispensers out of TPE. It does not have the same properties as rubber. It doesn't have the same elasticity. So, I've learned through a couple of designs what we can and can't do with TPE as a hollow treat dispenser versus other types of designs like balls and things that are more solid shaped, or mats for that matter. With nylon, just learning about all the different types of novelty finishes and fills. And, we have this wood composite. We recently did a speckle. We have looked at translucence and TPE. I mean, I love the novelty aspect, and, I'm looking for ways to really ramp up the novelty, because people love it and they're not accustomed to getting it. In the pet industry, they're used to getting it in simple things like plush toys, but because molded products have higher barriers to entry because of the cost of the mold, people take fewer risks.
Right.
And there's a risk reward trade-off. Some things we do are home runs and other things we do are disasters, but as long as you hit a couple of home runs every now and then, it's worth the risk.
So how do you know when to pivot? Is that just numerical? Is it a feeling?
Night sweats?
No, I honestly, I would say it's primarily at this point for me, it's a feeling, because I've run merchandising organizations, product lines most of my career. So at some point, you just don't need another rubber toy in a different shape. There's a point of diminishing returns. And so, I realized a while ago, it's like, okay, I really need to diversify a little bit here, because I can't just do this one thing. I'm just trading sales. I'm not selling more. I'm just selling the same amount in more SKUs. So, and I'm always looking for things that are logical extensions of our brand. Like lick mats, it's a logical extension because it's molded and because it's an enrichment product. So that made sense for me to do, even though historically I haven't been involved in feeding systems. I don't do dog bowls, or at least not yet. Maybe I will. And
it won't be bowl shapes.
Yeah, cool bowl shapes. Who says a bowl has to be round? Right?
That's a great point.
So these are the things that I look at and I'm like, boy, this could be so much more fun than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
or so much more effective, right? The lick mat thing makes so much sense to me. The same way, in manufacturing, a lot of times I feel like people will just continue to do things the way they've always been done. And then you take a look at the ketchup bottle, right? That literally flipped on its head, and what a great innovation that was, for how many, hundreds of years have bottles been designed, this way. And then, the innovation of just turning it upside down.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, this is the fun, is to not just to do my version of something that somebody else is doing, but to like see how dogs use a product and then say, okay, how do we take it to the next place?
Mm-hmm.
So
where do you guys go to for your design inspiration?
Oh, that's a tough one, because I am the main conceptualizer. I have a person that does CAD for me, but all the ideas pretty much come from me. And
did you say CAD or cat?
CAD.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's all cat files.
I do dog. This person does cat.
They're very behind though.
Although, to be honest with you, oftentimes, or at least sometimes, it's customers that say, like I was at a trade show several years ago, we had the canned toys and the customer said, oh, you got to do a coffee cup. And I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. So, and most of our products look like other things. So, in that regard, it's not like I'm doing crazy ideas out of the blue,
You actually see a dog carrying a coffee cup away, like an owner chasing after their dog with a coffee cup. Ooh, we could do that.
Well, the deeper insight there is that the SodaPup brand, it's targeting suburban moms with a couple of kids and a dog.
And
she
Croc
loves
sandals.
and her Crocs. That's right. And, that mom loves her Starbucks or, pick your local coffee company. And so the idea of a coffee cup is something that we thought, well, she's already got an emotional connection with that shape, that object. So what if we did a dog toy that looked like a coffee cup? So we're trying to do things that people will actually have an emotional reaction to. So
Wow.
if you back it up, when I decided to start this business, there were a couple of questions. The first question was, can I make something from nothing? Can I create magic? Can I just have an idea and somehow bring it to life? That was the first question. And that's just more of a personal challenge for me. And then the second question was, can I make people care? Can I make them care about a dog toy company? Right? Just the way, Brock likes Audis. He doesn't have a Mercedes, doesn't have a BMW. He's an Audi guy, right? He identifies with Audi. So some people are Nike people, other people are Under Armour people. So, but in a category like dog toys, do people care? Can they even name a dog toy brand? And so that was the bigger challenge. And honestly, I had my doubts. Can I make people care about their dog toy brand? And so, in this regard, SodaPup is actually much more than just the objects that we make. SodaPup it's a veteran-owned business. It's, we specialize in American-made products. All of our materials are FDA compliant. We give back to our community, primarily through dog toy donations, but we give generously back to the community. So all these other things are, I don't know, it's like, I suppose it's a reflection of my own values. I want to make things in the United States. I want to create jobs in my local community. I want to make sure that my dog toys are safe for people. And what we're finding is people do care. People are falling in love with us, which is fascinating and rewarding. And, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I will say my mom's German Shepherd Rottweiler is one of your test dogs, whether you know it or not. And
no, I've seen several pictures of it. Yeah.
And that's, she always says, do you have one of those ones that's like, and she always lists like one of your parts, for the Halloween, the bats. Those were the cutest little things. I kept them, and actually I probably shouldn't announce this on a podcast where CPS can find me, but my kids love playing with dog toys now, and their favorite game is actually fetch, and I do throw them and then they go fetch them and bring them back.
Well, luckily they're FDA compliant.
That's what I said. I said they're safe.
Right.
I do the TPE ones for the fetch. I don't throw the nylon ones, but
it's been a long lockdown. It's been a long,
you find what toys work.
And, the lockdown is actually, obviously there's so many horrible things about it. But it's been great for the pet industry. People are home with their dogs, and people are adopting dogs, and people are spoiling their dogs. So, we've worked hard to stay safe and keep our doors open and keep everybody healthy. And it's been, business-wise, it's been good for us. So.
Yeah, actually, I know one of now a competitor company of mine that the salesperson to Lindsay, she got a dog during lockdown. So I don't know if she has some of your toys yet, but I bet she supplied some of the products.
She has supplied some of the product. She doesn't have any of the toys yet because she hasn't been allowed in the building or to leave.
Yeah.
She's allowed in our building, but she hasn't been allowed to leave.
I'll tell you what's interesting to me about the plastics business, at least in the pet industry, is that after having made rubber toys for so many years and really having, really high obstacles in terms of mold expense and minimum order quantities and so on, I'm just shocked that more people aren't producing their nylon and TPE toys in the US because, that barrier to entry is so much lower because the cycle times are fast. So you don't need huge multi-cavity molds. You can get by with a couple of cavities.
And I think
I kind of look at it, I'm just like, wow, there are people asleep at the wheel.
I think it's a lot of misconception too, because, I think when you typically think about injection molding, you think high expense to get in, but, high repeatability, high producibility, but I don't think people realize it's, especially in comparison to rubber,
Right.
It's going to be a lot easier. And there are options to keep your costs, low entry essentially.
Yeah. So Mercedes asked about what I was looking for. And, one of the things that really impressed me when I first started working with Tech Tank, because I was so cost conscious, and I was looking to do multiple designs. It's not like I had one great idea and I was just going to increase one thing and be done with it. It was like, okay, my whole model is about repeatability. I need to templatize as much as I can and get, if there are ways to pay for something once and then reuse it over and over again to reduce the cost later on, then we should do that. And they were great in terms of helping me develop a frame system where we could just develop less expensive inserts. And we've actually done similar things on the rubber side where we have runner systems where I can bolt on individual cavities. So I can mix and match cavities. And so there's been some cross-pollination as well in terms of, what I learned in one type of injection molding versus another.
Was that a pun because of the honeycomb toy?
I'm going to take it as a pun, even if it's not.
We have a honey thing going on. We have the honey bone. We have a honeycomb mat. We've got I'm actually working on a rubber honey bear. The old honey jars that are shaped like a bear?
Yeah.
So we're doing a rubber toy in that shape, and I'm also doing a honey pot. So we're going to have a whole honey collection.
Well,
Wow.
Our tool guy right now, he always says, well, what part is it? And I'll tell him, and he's like, I don't know which honey thing that is.
Yeah.
So now I'll tell him there's some other things. Good luck.
Yeah. So it's in terms of the partnership, in particular, Brock's orientation is towards new product development and innovation. I listened to his podcast with you, and he talked about not wanting to make 20 million bottle caps. He likes making new things. So to have him as a partner and Nick and the whole team, have them as a partner, pumping out lots of new ideas. I mean, that's just a match made in heaven for me because a lot of manufacturing is pretty sleepy and slow moving and old school. So to meet up with someone who's even more aggressive than I am is really fun, right? We're kindred spirits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like I said, it does make the, project end of things fun. It makes it fun for people out on the floor to see new stuff and new colors and, oh, what's this new part? Oh, it's got some fancy effect in it, or, I think it keeps, people on the floor engaged. They're not, just running 1,000 bottle caps or inspecting 1,000 bottle caps a day.
Right.
They're looking at cool stuff and, thinking, oh yeah, I do kind of connect with it, really.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the perfect world if people come to work and they're actually engaged in what they're doing, right? I mean, we try to do that here, even just in jobs, fulfilling orders, picking and packing, and try to find ways to keep people engaged and make the work interesting. And Yeah, it's I feel really blessed to have bumped into the crew in Erie, to have as my partner in crime as we make all this stuff. And it's a little bit of, as a young company, we're just planting a lot of seeds, right? You don't know what's going to stick, and oftentimes you need to be around for a little while before people pay much attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to produce a lot of different things has helped, because now that people are waking up to us and kind of discovering us for the first time, they're kind of blown away. It's like, how have I never heard about these guys? They have so much stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then the volume comes. And so that's the other thing that, I appreciate the fact that I've been able to do lower volumes in the beginning. And then those have led to bigger programs.
Mhm.
We do a big program with Chewy, we do a big program with Walmart. So eventually the volume will come. So it's nice to have partners that are willing to take risks with me in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
because a lot of people would be like, who is this guy? He has no experience. I'm not going to waste my time, right?
Well, they
That's-
called you though.
Well,
I
that's
was gonna
true.
say, yeah, this is technically our fault.
That's right. Nick must have been desperate.
So we're just about out of time, but I'm so curious because you've had, all these different career paths, and, you're at this really exciting time for SodaPup. What's next? What's on the horizon?
Is there a pivot?
I'm just going to stick to my knitting, and my goal is just to keep growing this business. There's so much upside, whether it be from a product creation standpoint or just, broadening our reach. The world is getting smaller, so it's so much easier to market and sell globally without a lot of infrastructure, which is the amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm really focused on just expanding the reach of what we're doing. And that's going to keep me busy for a while.
And you mentioned,
There'll be retirement eventually, but my wife is pushing for it. I'm resisting. It's too much fun.
so how many continents are you on now? Your products go to?
Well, let's see. We distribute in Australia and Singapore, Taiwan, China.
Were we not supposed to send that box out to Antarctica? Or
Australia, Antarctica.
You got to get those snow dogs.
yeah, that's
UK,
true.
Belgium, Norway, France. We shipped our first order to Germany today. We have a
Wow.
distributor in Israel. We have a distributor in Ukraine, which I find fascinating. So yeah, it's growing. I mean, these are all small businesses around the world, but baby steps.
It counts.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Super fun. And it's just fun, at the end of the day, business it's just a vehicle. Like for me, it's a vehicle to do good in the world, right? To create jobs and give back and make some money while we're at it. But the real rewards are the relationships that you make with people all around the world. That's why I don't want to retire, because you walk away from all that and then it's like, wow, your world gets pretty small pretty quick after what you've been doing.
As plastics industry nerds, we get that.
Yeah. Right. And it could be anything, and it happens to be plastics, and it happens to be dog toys, but it could have been something else. But I mean, this is why I love work. I love business for those reasons.
Absolutely. Well, Adam Baker, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I actually have a lot of good notes that I'm going to be bringing back to my boss tomorrow. I loved some of those points that you said about the startup mentality of, can I create something from nothing, and can I make people care? I think that's really beautiful. What an amazing starting point for a company.
I think the key is to be just, be values based, stick to your values, and the rest will come. Don't take the shortcuts, do the right things. And hopefully people will notice.
Thank you so much, Adam.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Inspirational and everything.
you've got a question, the voices of resin are here. Oh, PlastChicks.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
Bye.
All right, thanks. See you guys.
See ya.